the savanna shrinks around the few remaining waterholes. Daytime temperatures soar beyond 35 degrees Celsius. A giraffe lowers its nearly 2-meter-long neck to drink, slowly, yet always on alert. The Nile crocodile lies still for hours, waiting for a single misstep. The hippopotamus defends its territory with wide-open jaws, revealing a bite force of over 17,000 newtons. Above, the African fish eagle circles and dives the moment it spots the shadow of a fish. The spotted hyena waits patiently, ready to close in on any lone or weary wanderer. Every creature comes here with a plan of its own. These waterholes are the fine line between survival and loss, setting the rhythm of life across the savanna. Imagine you're driving through the vast grasslands of the savanna, where the dry season sun scorches the earth and every blade of grass trembles, seemingly on the verge of wilting. In the midst of that endless stretch, a waterhole suddenly appears. Here, a dazzling gathering unfolds. Elephants, zebras, giraffes, impalas, and even nighttime wanderers, like the black rhinoceros, converge, creating a vivid dance of life in the heart of a harsh wilderness. Waterholes in the savanna can form naturally or be created by human intervention. Natural waterholes develop in low-lying geological depressions or along dry riverbeds, where rainwater or underground springs have a chance to collect and remain. At times, they are also shaped by elephants themselves. Using their remarkable strength, they often dig into the soil in search of minerals. Over the years, these small pits can grow into lasting water sources, giving rise to miniature ecosystems that support the survival of many different species. In addition to these natural basins, national parks and major wildlife reserves across Africa have proactively constructed hundreds of artificial waterholes to help ensure that animals don't have to travel too far during the intense dry season. At Kruger National Park in South Africa, by the 1980s, around 300 borehole-fed waterholes and 50 reservoirs had been developed. The goal was to support rare antelope species and help manage the movement of large animals like buffalo and giraffe across the region. Meanwhile, in Etosha National Park in Namibia, spanning roughly 22,270 square kilometers, the landscape is dominated by the dry salt pan of Etosha, which alone covers more than 23% of the park. Here, the waterhole system is more evenly balanced between natural and artificial sources. In eastern Etosha, there are as many as 29 natural waterholes, while the drier western region has only 5, compensated by the installation of over 27 artificial waterholes to help maintain ecological balance. Some of Etosha's most iconic waterholes, like Okauquejo, Gemsbokvlakte, and Halali, have become not only gathering points for wildlife, but also destinations for visitors from around the world. These sites are often illuminated at night, offering people the rare chance to witness the quiet, magical moments when animals emerge from the darkness to drink under the stars. As the first light breaks, between around 5:30 and 7 in the morning, the African savanna enters one of its rare, cool moments of the day. During the dry season, temperatures in regions like the Serengeti or the Okavango typically range from 14 to 20 degrees Celsius at this time. The air is still, The ground has yet to warm, and the water at the holes remains crystal clear, undisturbed and untouched. This is the signature hour for the appearance of small, cautious herbivores. They arrive early to take advantage of the quiet, when predators have not yet begun to stir. These individuals tend to be extremely alert. They don't linger, taking just a few quick sips before slipping back into the brush. Every movement is measured with nothing wasted. This is the springbok, one of the earliest visitors to the waterhole. They never come alone, always in groups. Sometimes just a few individuals, sometimes dozens. Each one keeps just enough distance to avoid being trapped if trouble arises, but close enough to share signals, through a glance, a shift in posture, or even the tiniest startle. Each time they lower their heads to drink, it lasts only a few seconds, then back up. Ears upright, muscles tight. At the slightest disturbance, the whole group springs into motion, gone in a flash like a gust of wind. When agitated or excited, springbok leap high into the air, 2 to 3 meters, with their backs arched and the white patch of fur along their spine standing tall. Pronking is a message. To a predator, it says, "I see you." To fellow springbok, it's a way to signal emotion, send warnings, or attract attention. It's a movement that is both social and biological. Beyond that, every behavior is measured, carefully calculated and controlled. Footage from camera systems shows that they spend only brief moments at the waterhole, unlike species such as zebras that linger longer. This short window of exposure significantly lowers the risk of being ambushed, reflecting not just physical evolution, but also a refined intelligence in how they move through the world. Unlike larger antelope species that tend to approach cautiously, guinea fowl arrive with their signature bustle and energy. Each flock typically consists of 10 to 25 individuals, moving together as a tightly knit social unit. They constantly call out, loud, rhythmic sounds that help maintain contact and serve as early warnings for danger. This noisy presence can even benefit grazing species like impalas or wildebeests by alerting them early to the presence of predators. The guinea fowl's alarm calls can travel as far as 150 meters in open terrain, far enough to trigger defensive reactions in other nearby species, even those outside their own group. Although they have wings and can make short flights, guinea fowl typically prefer to run when escaping threats, a strategic decision that conserves energy and takes full advantage of the open savanna. They can sprint at speeds of up to 35 kilometers per hour, and their ability to change direction rapidly often makes it difficult for predators to keep up. Their nervous systems are especially developed in the visual processing regions, allowing them to detect motion from a distance and react quickly to danger. Their diet also plays an important ecological role in the savanna landscape. Primarily feeding on seeds, bulbs, and insects, guinea fowl are also capable of catching small reptiles like lizards or young snakes when the opportunity arises. The muddy fringes around waterholes are ideal for foraging, especially in the dry season when insects are drawn to moisture-rich zones. By focusing their foraging on the edges of the water, guinea fowl minimize the risk of getting too close to the water's edge, where ambush predators may lie in wait. Spread across South Africa, Botswana, Namibia, Zimbabwe, and Angola, guinea fowl are among the most numerous native bird species on the continent. It's estimated that there are between 28 and 30 million individuals in the wild. Most live outside protected areas and have adapted well to semi-arid zones, open grasslands, and farmlands. When the dry season begins, guinea fowl tend to cluster around permanent waterholes, then disperse once the rains return and water becomes more widely available. They play an important role in controlling insect populations, clearing away plant debris, and even creating feeding grounds where smaller bird species like lapwings or sandgrouse can find nourishment. At midday on the African savanna, when the sun scorches the earth and the shade of a tree becomes a precious refuge, giraffes begin their slow approach to the waterhole. Unlike many other grazers that tend to move during the early morning or late afternoon to avoid the heat and potential threats, giraffes primarily drink from noon into the late afternoon, a time when the dry plains settle into an eerie calm. It's a strategic choice. Predators are less likely to be lurking near waterholes during the midday hours, as lions, leopards, and hyenas usually retreat into the shade to rest. With their towering height, giraffes can spot danger from afar. But in the vulnerable posture of drinking, when their whole frame must bow and their balance is compromised, they become momentarily exposed. They don't keep their heads down for long. Each sip lasts only a few seconds, quick, deliberate, always followed by a lift of the head to scan the surroundings. Their drinking rhythm is broken and cautious. Lower, raise, listen, then lower again. It's not about needing time to digest water. It's about making sure no predator is silently creeping in from behind the bushes. In larger groups, certain individuals remain upright as temporary lookouts, keeping watch while the rest drink. Height, the most striking trait of the giraffe, is both an advantage and a challenge. Adult males typically stand between 5.0 and 5.5 meters tall, with females slightly shorter at 4.3 to 4.7 meters. They're also quite heavy. Females weigh between 800 and 1,200 kilograms, while males can reach up to 1,900 kilograms. Thanks to their stature, giraffes can browse from treetops that most other herbivores can't reach, especially the thorn-covered acacia leaves, which are rich in nutrients and moisture. To manage these prickly meals, giraffes use their long, dark purple tongues, measuring between 45 and 50 centimeters. They don't undertake long-distance migrations like some larger antelope, but giraffes do move with the seasons, traveling between wet and dry areas in search of greener vegetation and reliable waterholes. GPS data shows that during the dry season, an individual giraffe may travel 30 to 50 kilometers per month in search of food and water. And yet, despite their sheer size, giraffes have a surprisingly gentle ecological footprint. They don't stir up the dust and water like large herds of elephants, nor do they create the chaos seen with buffalo or zebras. Their presence at a waterhole is like a stretched shadow beneath the midday sun. Quiet, composed, and respectfully distant, never disturbing the delicate order of the dryland rhythm. They avoid waterholes with steep banks, deep pools, or obstructed views. Instead, they favor gentle slopes, clear water, firm ground, and wide visibility, places where their eyes can scan far and wide before lowering themselves into a vulnerable posture. Because threats don't only come from behind or the sides. Beneath the still surface, where the mud remains undisturbed, sometimes hides a less expected predator, Nile crocodiles lying perfectly motionless. There have been recorded cases of crocodiles lunging at giraffes from below while they're in that vulnerable bowed posture, but few succeed. These towering animals are careful and deliberate in choosing where they drink. So, are you the kind of person who takes a quick sip and scans the room, or do you drink slowly like nothing could ever catch you off guard? As the sun climbs higher and temperatures quickly rise past 30 degrees Celsius, the savanna shifts into a harsher rhythm of life. The air turns dry and biting. Sunlight bleaches the ground white, and the waterhole loses the calm it held in the early morning. Its muddy bottom is stirred by dozens of herds, zebras, wildebeests, buffaloes, arriving one after another, turning the surface into a murky mix, heavy with the scent of earth and the quick, heated breath of hundreds of thirsty creatures pressed together. Beneath that cloudy water, peace is only a thin illusion. In long-established waterholes, especially in regions like the Okavango or southern Botswana, the presence of Nile crocodiles is a regular reality. Fully grown individuals, over 4 meters long, lie perfectly still near the edges, with only their eyes and nostrils breaking the surface, watching without being seen. They don't need to move much. Just one upward snap, timed as an antelope lowers its head, is enough to pull the prey beneath the surface. This predator is a master of stillness. In the brief moment an antelope lowers its head to drink, all motion becomes meaningless. With a single upward lunge, striking at speeds up to 12 meters per second, the prey is dragged below the surface before it has a chance to cry out. The Nile crocodile does not hunt with urgency. Rather than chase, it conserves energy through patience and concealment. With bodies that can stretch over 5 meters in length and weigh more than 700 kilograms, they have the strength to pull down a full-grown zebra in an instant. Yet that massive frame doesn't compromise their stealth. Their earth-toned, scaled skin and streamlined body shape allow them to blend seamlessly into the muddy floor, where light can't reach, and sound is muffled by the chaos of a dry land ecosystem. As cold-blooded animals, Nile crocodiles cannot regulate their body temperature internally like mammals. They rely entirely on the surrounding environment. When water temperatures sit between 30 and 33 degrees Celsius, they remain motionless, conserving heat and minimizing energy loss. But when temperatures rise above 34 degrees Celsius, something increasingly common due to climate change, they haul themselves onto the bank and open their mouths wide in a behavior known as gaping. Not to threaten, but to cool down. Moisture evaporating from the open mouth helps release heat without the need for sweat. It's like an old car popping the hood to cool off after a long drive. The adaptability of the Nile crocodile is the product of millions of years of evolution. Its closest ancestors lived in North Africa during the Eocene epoch, over 50 million years ago. Recent genetic studies show that today's Nile crocodile is not a single uniform population, but a blend of at least 2 distinct genetic lineages, one dominant in eastern and southern Africa, the other now recognized as a separate species, common in western and central regions. This discovery challenges earlier views on their evolutionary history and expands their ecological range farther than previously thought. Their habitat stretches across nearly the entire sub-Saharan region, from Egypt to South Africa, from Ethiopia to Namibia. One striking rediscovery in 2025 documented their return to Guinea-Bissau, where the species had gone unrecorded for over 200 years. Their diet reflects their progression through life stages. Young crocodiles, under 1.5 meters long, mainly feed on insects like water beetles, grasshoppers, and dragonflies. Too small to take down larger prey, they must compete fiercely for tiny meals in the shallows. As they grow, reaching about 2 meters, they shift to fish, crabs, and amphibians. At Lake Turkana, fish accounted for nearly 90% of the diet in juvenile crocodiles analyzed. Once fully mature, they begin hunting primates, antelope, even young buffalo, prey that can weigh over 100 kilograms. The diet evolves with jaw size and strength, but the strategy stays the same: wait and strike with precision. A crocodile lies completely still, only its eyes and nostrils breaking the surface. No one sees it move. No one knows how long it's been there. But in the larger waterholes, hippos enter as if they own the place. They don't swim. They glide across the muddy bottom, their massive bodies sending gentle ripples across the surface. There is no friendship between these two, but there is no war either, at least not when each knows its place. The hippo is too large to be prey. The crocodile, too dangerous to dismiss. They coexist like difficult neighbors sharing a waterline, avoiding direct conflict unless pushed to the edge. But sometimes, that fragile balance shatters. When the waterhole shrinks too much during the dry season, when every square meter of water becomes as precious as gold, conflict is inevitable. The hippo charges like a living tank, its jaws wide open, tusks over half a meter long aimed straight at the crocodile. The strike misses, but it's enough. The crocodile retreats beneath the surface, leaving behind a swirl of mud like a warning sign. As the dry season stretches on across the savannah, the earth cracks beneath the burning sun, and herds of hippopotamus begin making their way toward the last remaining waterholes. These are more than just places to quench their thirst. They are sanctuaries, lifelines in a world running desperately low on water. At the peak of midday, when air temperatures can rise above 40 degrees Celsius, hippos fully submerge themselves in the warm water, keeping their body temperature steady around 36 degrees Celsius. With their massive size, thick skin, and a near-complete lack of sweat glands, water becomes their only shield against overheating and dehydration. Each adult hippo can weigh over 1,500 kilograms, but they are far from sluggish in the water. Though they can't swim like fish, they move efficiently by walking along the bottom, using their strong legs to push themselves forward through the mud, gliding like a hefty but agile submarine. This method allows them to stay submerged for hours at a time, surfacing only briefly for air before dipping back down. Their water-dependent lifestyle makes the waterhole the focal point of nearly all activity during the dry season. But as the surface area shrinks, the space between individuals begins to close, and tension rises. Dominant males, naturally territorial, start asserting control with powerful shoves, underwater collisions, or full-blown clashes. In such tight quarters, even the act of opening a mouth wide can signal a challenge, and a deep bellow rumbling from the throat can carry a warning across the waterhole. This sound, whether a grunt or a bellow, resonates over the surface, slicing through the heavy air and reaching hundreds of meters, a reminder that order in the hippo world does not shift easily. Among individuals, territorial marking plays a crucial role. Hippos have a unique way of doing this, with feces. They often stand near the water's edge and vigorously wag their tails while defecating, spraying dung in every direction. It's not just instinct, it's a communication system, signaling ownership of space and even reproductive status. As environmental pressure intensifies, these signs become more important than ever, helping individuals avoid unnecessary conflict or steer clear of already claimed territory. Such waterholes are often located in vital regions of the African continent, where hippos are widely distributed along rivers, lakes, and floodplains. However, in recent decades, that range has steadily contracted due to habitat loss and growing human pressure. Today, the global hippopotamus population is estimated at around 115,000 to 130,000 individuals, with the highest concentrations in countries like Zambia, Mozambique, Tanzania, Uganda, and South Africa. Zambia currently leads with over 37,000 hippos found along major river systems and forest edge wetlands. Beyond their love for water, hippos actively reshape their ecosystems. As they move through the landscape, they unintentionally carve new channels, guiding water flow and helping retain moisture in the soil. Their waste, though capable of reducing oxygen levels if it accumulates excessively, provides rich nutrients for bottom-dwelling organisms and fish sharing the same waters. But the hippo's story of survival isn't limited to the light of day. When night falls and moonlight shimmers across the still surface, hippos begin to leave the waterhole, venturing inland to graze. They may travel between 5 and 10 kilometers in a single night in search of food, always returning before dawn. As night falls and the air cools gently, the African savanna slips into its hidden rhythm of the dark. In the shadows, predators like lions, leopards, and spotted hyenas begin to move toward the waterholes. However, ecological field data reveals that rather than coming to drink, predators tend to stay active around these areas for hunting and often avoid the water's edge themselves to reduce the risk of being spotted. A study conducted in Hwange National Park, Zimbabwe, found that large herbivores such as buffalo, giraffes, and kudu tend to steer clear of waterholes when lions are nearby, especially at night. These species adjust the timing of their visits to minimize the chance of a deadly encounter. Unlike lions that hunt in prides or cheetahs that rely on speed, the leopard takes a different approach, moving silently through tall grass at the edges of waterholes, where moonlight and shadow weave a perfect veil for a sudden strike. After resting and taking a quiet drink at the now cool waterhole, the leopard begins its hunt. It climbs into nearby trees. The leopard may not be the fastest runner, but it is a master climber. With razor-sharp, retractable claws, it grips tree bark like a seasoned mountaineer. Its powerful shoulder and forelimb muscles allow it to leap as far as 6 meters in a single bound. Its golden yellow eyes reflect the moonlight, thanks to a layer of reflective tissue in the retina called the tapetum lucidum, enhancing its vision in low-light conditions far beyond what humans can see. The monkeys are awake, but their daylight-adapted eyes can't locate the predator. A rustle, then silence. Panic spreads through the troop, but it's too late. The hunter has carried its midnight meal down from the branches and slipped away. Unlike many predators, leopards don't frequent waterholes to drink. They know these are risky places, where the scent of their body or the slightest motion could unravel the entire plan. But as ambush predators, they turn these very places into natural traps. Waterholes draw impalas, bushbucks, and warthogs, all bound to come when thirst sets in. And all it takes is a single misstep, a moment of distraction for the prey to fall into the claws of one of the stealthiest hunters in the feline world. The leopard's body is built for agility and surprise. Though smaller than lions or tigers, an adult male can weigh between 30 and 65 kilograms, with muscular strength concentrated in the forequarters. Its light golden-brown coat is covered in irregular rosette patterns, making it nearly invisible in its surroundings. In the twilight glow, this camouflage becomes a perfect shield, allowing it to vanish among shrubs, tree trunks, or rock outcrops by the water. A leopard's stealth isn't simply about silence, it's about extreme patience. At times, it may move only a few steps over several minutes, eyes locked on its target, ears alert to the slightest sound. Every obstacle, every breeze, every movement among the animals at the waterhole is carefully assessed. And when the distance is close enough, often just a few meters, it launches forward at speeds of up to 60 kilometers per hour, delivering a powerful pounce and a fatal bite to the throat or the back of the neck. What sets the leopard apart is its ability to hoist prey into trees. After a successful hunt, it uses tremendous strength to drag the kill, sometimes twice its own weight, onto a high, sturdy branch. This behavior protects its meal from lions, spotted hyenas, or African wild dogs, and offers a quiet place to eat without disturbance. It's part of why leopards thrive in so many ecosystems, from dense forests to open grasslands and rocky hills, thanks to their adaptability and resource-guarding behavior. Their diet is nearly limitless. As opportunistic predators, leopards eat everything from insects, rodents, birds, and fish to hoofed animals like antelope, duiker, and reedbuck, even livestock near farms. This dietary flexibility helps them survive in resource-poor areas, such as the fringes of the Kalahari Desert, where they can live off moisture from prey or succulent plants. In South African reserves like Kruger and Sabi Sand, camera traps have recorded leopards hunting both day and night, though their peak activity is around dawn and dusk, when temperatures are mild and light conditions aid in camouflage. Historically, leopards once roamed across much of Africa and a large part of Asia. But as of 2025, they have disappeared from at least 13 countries and are nearing extinction in 7 others. Across Africa, they now inhabit only 25 to 37% of their original range, with the highest populations in Tanzania, Namibia, Botswana, and South Africa. Tanzania holds the largest number, with between 5,000 and 10,000 individuals found in regions like the Serengeti and Ngorongoro. One of the most notable roles leopards play is ecological. As mid-level predators in the food chain, they help control populations of hoofed animals, contributing to ecosystem balance. Yet they face intense competition themselves. In areas like Sabi Sand, around 22% of leopard deaths are caused by lions, while spotted hyenas steal nearly 50% of their kills. Only when a kill is secured in a tree do the hyenas finally give up. Though long known as scavengers, modern research reveals that the majority, between 70 and 95%, of a spotted hyena's diet comes from their own hunts. Prey like wildebeests, buffalo calves, and Thompson's gazelles can fall victim even without being injured or weak. While scavenging remains part of their opportunistic survival strategy, active hunting is the true foundation of their success. Unlike big cats such as lions or cheetahs, which rely on bursts of speed and sudden strikes, the spotted hyena is a master of endurance. With large hearts, solid muscle mass, and powerful hind legs, they can pursue prey at 60 kilometers per hour over long distances. The chase isn't a quick sprint. It's a war of attrition, wearing the prey down bit by bit. They take turns leading, never letting the target rest. And when the animal begins to tire, the pack closes in. Some block the front, others hit from the sides, while the rear guard stays locked in pursuit. Once the prey collapses, the feeding frenzy erupts. The entire clan surges forward, loud, chaotic, and ferocious. Within 30 minutes, the carcass of a zebra can be reduced to scattered fragments of bone. But even bones aren't wasted. With a bite force of up to 4,500 newtons, the strongest among land mammals, spotted hyenas easily crush thick, heavy bones. Their teeth and jaws are built not just for tearing flesh, but for consuming what most others leave behind. Near waterholes, where herbivores like zebras, wildebeests, impalas, and kudus are forced to pause for water, hyenas take advantage of the moment to coordinate their hunts. They don't bother hiding in tall grass or underbrush. Instead, they apply pressure as a unit. Under darkness or moonlight, they split into groups, silently stalking or simply trailing their prey, waiting for the right moment to converge. Their coordination is built on sound, high-pitched laughs, short whoops, and guttural growls, tactical vocalizations like coded signals exchanged in the wild. To understand this level of coordination, it's important to know that spotted hyenas don't live alone. They form large clans of up to 80 individuals, led by a dominant female. Their matrilineal hierarchy is complex and tightly structured, resembling the social systems of primates. Large clans have a clear advantage in defending territory, taking down bigger prey, and even confronting other predators like lions or leopards. When they have the numbers, they won't hesitate to attack or steal from anyone. Even lions, because female hyenas are nearly as large as lionesses. Spotted hyenas range in length from 95 to 165 centimeters, stand 70 to 91 centimeters at the shoulder, and weigh between 40 and 180 kilograms, 80 kilograms, with females typically larger and heavier than males. They have an average lifespan of 12 years in the wild and can live up to 25 years if not impacted by hunting or disease. One particularly unique trait is their reproductive and hormonal system. Females possess external genitalia that closely resemble those of males, leading to significant confusion and directly shaping their female-dominated social structure. Migration behavior depends on clan territory. Each clan maintains a clearly defined home range, sometimes spanning several hundred square kilometers, marked through feces, vocalizations, and social interaction. Adult individuals may leave to establish new territories or join other clans, depending on population density and competitive pressure. Their varied diet also plays a key role in their adaptability. Spotted hyenas consume everything from small mammals, birds and reptiles to insects, and even human waste in settled areas. This flexibility allows them to thrive in a wide range of environments, from savannas and open woodlands to high-altitude regions above 4,000 meters. In water-scarce zones, such as semi-desert areas or near the Kalahari, they may travel dozens of kilometers overnight to reach a waterhole, then wait patiently, study the terrain, and plan ambushes in groups. Ecologically, spotted hyenas help regulate herbivore populations, clean up carcasses, and reduce the spread of disease. Their influence shapes plant structure, impacts grazing behavior, and affects other competing carnivores. In ecosystems where lions rule through strength and leopards through solitary cunning, the spotted hyena thrives through unity, adaptability, and an unmatched ability to make the most of every opportunity. As darkness blankets the savanna and the waterholes reflect only the faint glow of the moon, lions begin to move in silence. They don't walk straight to the water's edge, but instead wait patiently, hidden behind tall grass or dry earth mounds, using the wind and shadows to mask their presence. Lions are the only big cats that live and hunt in social groups, known as prides. This structure allows them to take down prey, weighing hundreds of kilograms, wildebeests, zebras, even African buffalo. When the chance arises, they'll even charge a rhino. In the center of a drying waterhole, a black rhino is stuck in thick mud. It thrashes, sweeping its twin horns from side to side, but each movement only pulls the heavy mud tighter around its legs. From a distance, 3 golden figures approach, lionesses, the pride's seasoned hunters. In lion society, around 85 to 90% of all hunts are carried out by females. Their bodies are built for short bursts of explosive power, capable of sprinting up to 80 kilometers per hour, though only for a few seconds. The rhino lets out a deep, rasping roar that echoes through the hollow. Black rhinos can weigh between 1,000 and 1,400 kilograms, but right now, the mud has turned it into a prisoner. One lioness lunges, biting at the rhino's flank. Its skin, nearly 5 centimeters thick, is too tough for the lion's teeth to pierce. With an enormous burst of strength from its hindquarters, the rhino breaks free and charges the nearest lioness. This failure is the exception. Lions typically hunt antelope and other grazers that approach the waterhole to drink. When hunting near a waterhole, 1 or 2 experienced lionesses quietly circle behind the herd, driving them toward an ambush. The rest lie low, pressed to the ground, waiting for the signal, then launch forward when the prey is just tens of meters away. Their golden coats blend seamlessly with the earth, each step taken softly as they close in on their prey. A single swipe or pounce is often enough to bring down the target. After a successful hunt, the male lion typically eats first, while also guarding the pride from scavengers like the spotted hyena. Another key role of the male is patrolling and defending the territory, especially the permanent waterholes that are vital to the pride's survival during the dry season. A lion's diet reflects its status at the top of the food chain. They prefer large mammals like wildebeest, zebra, African buffalo, and warthog, but also take opportunities to hunt young giraffes or weakened animals. What remains after their feast becomes nourishment for scavengers like vultures, helping to recycle nutrients back into the ecosystem. Recent ecological studies have found that vultures often circle at altitudes between 500 and 1,500 meters around waterholes during the dry season. This is when mortality rates among animals rise due to exhaustion, malnutrition, or injuries sustained while competing for water. From above, with vision 3 to 4 times sharper than a human's, they can spot a wildebeest straying from the herd, a collapsed zebra, or even something as subtle as a flurry of feathers and dust. Signs that a hunt is underway. Unlike New World vultures, which rely heavily on smell, African gyps species depend entirely on sight. They also constantly monitor each other. When one vulture descends near a carcass, others within several kilometers instantly pick up on the cue and follow. This effect can attract dozens, or even hundreds of vultures in less than an hour, a common scene whenever predators leave behind scraps of a kill. The vulture's body is a clear product of evolution tailored to scavenging. Their bald heads and necks allow them to reach deep into the chest cavity or abdominal area of carcasses without getting feathers matted or dirty. Their strong, hooked beaks can tear through the thick hide of large animals like African buffalo or giraffes, while their rough tongues strip muscle fibers clean from bone. Long, flexible necks give them access to the most nutrient-rich organs, liver, heart, intestines, packed with protein and minerals. Their immune systems are biological marvels. With stomach acid near a pH of 1, they can neutralize pathogens like anthrax bacteria, botulinum toxin, or rabies viruses. Their gut microbiome is also adapted to break down decaying flesh and deactivate harmful compounds. This allows them to turn what would be a deadly health risk for most creatures into a rich source of energy. In terms of distribution, African gyp species like the white-backed vulture and Ruppel's vulture are widespread across the sub-Saharan region, especially in savannas and large protected areas. Their migratory behavior is far more flexible than many other raptors. They can travel hundreds of kilometers to follow the movements of wildebeests and zebras, or to reach drought-stricken areas, where high death rates provide ample feeding opportunities. GPS tracking has recorded individual Ruppel's vultures covering more than 1,800 kilometers in just 2 weeks, tracing the course of dry rivers in search of food. At the Waterhole, competition for food isn't just between different vulture species. It also includes the marabou stork. Both scavenge from predator leftovers, but vultures hold an edge in numbers, tearing power and speed of a rival. Marabou storks, however, excel at reaching scraps submerged in water or clinging to large bones thanks to their long, powerful beaks. They often arrive just minutes after vultures begin to gather. The storks descend with a slow but assertive gait, moving straight into the crowd and using their height, up to 1 meter, and long straight bills measuring up to 35 centimeters to claim a prime spot. In many cases, that bill becomes a weapon, used to push back rivals and snatch the choicest pieces of meat. This ability helps them hold their ground amid the fierce competition at feeding sites. Their evolutionary adaptations are clearly reflected in their physical traits. Like many vultures, their heads and necks are nearly bald, sometimes with just a few wispy feathers, minimizing the risk of contamination when reaching deep inside a carcass. Their large, strong, and straight bills act like daggers, capable of slicing through tough muscle tissue and even dispatching small prey. The pink throat pouch connected to the respiratory system can inflate and deflate, likely aiding in thermoregulation and social signaling. Their diet reveals just how opportunistic they are. Beyond scavenging carcasses, marabou storks feed on fish, frogs, insects, lizards, hatchlings, eggs, and rodents. They frequently forage in garbage dumps near human settlements, where leftover food becomes a convenient energy source. When competing with vultures, marabous often take advantage of meat near the waterline or deep inside the carcass, places their long bills can reach with ease. Sometimes they wait for vultures to tear open the thick hide before stepping in to claim the softer tissues within, conserving effort and avoiding risk. At the Waterhole, their role extends beyond scavenging. Marabou storks keenly observe weak or injured animals, striking with quick jabs to take down smaller water birds. They are also known to hunt fish in shrinking pools as the dry season deepens. But that long bill can be a disadvantage too, making it tricky to grip slippery fish in muddy water. And overhead, another thief has already seen the scene unfold. Perched motionless on a bare, sun-bleached branch, the African fish eagle locks its brilliant yellow eyes onto the scene below. Farther down the shoreline, a marabou stork has just dragged a hefty fish from the shallows, wings flapping to keep its balance. The sound of splashing water and beating wings becomes a signal too loud to ignore. The eagle leans forward slightly, opens its 2.3-meter wingspan, and dives, wind screaming past as it descends. But it doesn't aim for the fish in the water. It targets the one holding it. A piercing call rips through the air, and the marabou stork freezes, glancing up for a split second. With just a moment of hesitation, the fish slips from the beak and falls onto the muddy ground. In an instant, the African fish eagle folds its wings and dives like an arrow, legs extended, talons lined with coarse spiracules clamping tightly onto the prize. Only its feet touch the water before it springs upward again, carrying off its shimmering silver catch. The African fish eagle is a close relative of the bald eagle of North America. It's found widely across sub-Saharan Africa, from vast lakes like Victoria, Tanganyika and Malawi to major rivers such as the Nile and Zambezi, and even man-made waterholes within protected reserves. Its movements aren't long-distance migrations, but seasonal shifts driven by food availability. When lakes and rivers recede, many individuals relocate to remaining bodies of water, including reserve waterholes. Satellite tracking in 2024 recorded repeated flights of 150 to 200 kilometers between wetland areas in Botswana and Zimbabwe. In the ecosystem, the African fish eagle plays a dual role. As a top predator of fish and water birds, and as both scavenger and kleptoparasite, making use of meals others have caught. This helps control fish populations and reduces wasted biomass in the environment. At Waterholes, its presence alters the behavior of other bird species, creating a zone of fear in the skies, where every move must be calculated to avoid becoming the next target. As darkness fades from the still surface of the waterhole, the final sounds of the night begin to quiet. Predators have withdrawn, leaving behind a heavy silence. This is the beginning of a new day, one where the edges of survival grow sharper. The savanna enters its driest stretch of the year, the deep, dry season, where all life is drawn to a single focal point, the waterhole. Under an increasingly harsh sun, the shoreline shrinks inward day by day, leaving behind cracked mud and a mess of overlapping footprints. Small, shallow pools vanish first. During extended droughts, water levels in many smaller holes drop steadily by 2 to 5 centimeters each day. In less than 2 weeks, a shallow basin runs completely dry. The remaining waterholes, deeper, wider, become the final gathering points of the savanna. Every species converges. Whether it's elephants leading their herds across dozens of kilometers or impalas slipping through thickets, all are pulled toward a dwindling source. There's no longer a line between predator and prey. No more choosing a safer time to drink. No more space to keep a safe distance. The waterhole becomes nature's last supper, a place where all are forced to gather, even if only to stand shoulder to shoulder at the edge for a few muddy sips and one fragile chance to make it through another day. Cape buffalo are often the first to arrive, simply because they're rarely far away. They make their way toward the waterhole across the parched African savanna, their massive dark forms casting heavy shadows on cracked earth. These buffalo are widely distributed across southern and eastern Africa, with the total African buffalo population estimated at around 513,000 individuals. That number continues to decline, a long-standing trend driven by habitat loss, hunting, and climate change. A 2024 genetic study revealed that this species experienced a sharp population bottleneck between 5,000 and 10,000 years ago, likely linked to early human activity and shifting environmental conditions. They've adapted through a strong herd lifestyle. Groups can range from a few dozen to over 1,000 individuals, with a clear social structure and hierarchy reinforced through ritualized, bloodless horn duels. When they approach the waterhole, their first instinct is to drink. They typically come in the early morning or late afternoon to avoid the scorching heat. During dry spells, their movements become more concentrated around the last remaining water sources. In northern Botswana, they roam widely during the rainy season in search of fresh grass, but return to the permanent wetlands of the Okavango Delta when conditions dry out. In Ruaha National Park, Tanzania, the dry season forces them to stay close to the Great Ruaha River, where daily movement averages 6.9 kilometers at the end of the dry season, compared to just 3.6 kilometers during the wet. Mud along the water's edge provides more than just refreshment. Cape buffalo wallow in it to cool down, protect themselves from flies, mosquitoes, and parasites, and help shed dead skin. Once dried, the mud acts like a natural suit of armor. This is also the time when social interactions are most frequent. Young males lock horns, not just for practice, but to test their rank. The sharp crack of horns echoes alongside the splashing of murky water stirred by hundreds of hooves. But the waterhole is far from safe. This life-sustaining resource always brings competition. Sometimes Cape buffalo face off with rhinos. Both are massive, powerful, and armed with formidable horns. These standoffs can go either way, depending on the size and temperament of each animal. The greater threat, however, comes from elephants. When a herd of elephants arrives, Cape buffalo almost always retreat. They're simply not in the same weight class as the largest land mammals on Earth. And while African elephants are known for their gentle nature, they can become highly territorial, especially near a waterhole. They don't just come for water, they come for survival. A space to cool down, care for their bodies, and maintain the bonds that hold the herd together. An adult elephant can drink between 150 and 300 liters of water a day, using its trunk, the only tool it has, to draw each gulp and spray it into its mouth. When the sun climbs high and the heat pushes past 40 degrees Celsius, water becomes an irreplaceable lifeline. Waterholes are more than places to drink. They're natural spas, playgrounds, and social hubs. Elephants bathe in water and mud, letting the cool soak ease the heat and the drying mud form a protective layer against insects, parasites, and UV rays. Young calves play, adults spray each other with water, and younger males test their strength in harmless sparring matches. Every moment at the waterhole reinforces the invisible bonds between individuals, ties that keep the herd united through the trials of the dry season. As surface water dwindles, elephants dig deeper, using their tusks and front feet to break into the dry mud or sand in search of hidden groundwater. In doing so, they not only save themselves, but often uncover water for other species as well. This behavior has earned elephants the title of ecosystem engineers of the savanna. They are widely distributed across Africa, with an estimated continental population of around 415,000 individuals. About 352,000 African bush elephants and 140,000 African forest elephants. Botswana currently holds close to 130,000 elephants, Zimbabwe around 100,000, Tanzania 60,000, Kenya 35,500, and South Africa 24,000. Yet from 1964 to 2016, savanna elephant populations declined by up to 70%, and forest elephants by as much as 90%, primarily due to habitat loss and poaching. This decline is a stark reminder that even the largest land animals are not immune to the pressures of human impact and climate change. Their migrations are tightly linked to water. During the rainy season, elephants roam far in search of fresh forage, but as the dry season tightens its grip, they return to the most reliable waterholes. In northern Botswana, some herds travel as far as 325 kilometers to reach the Chobe River when other sources dry up. In regions like Namibia or Tanzania, their daily travel distances increase sharply toward the end of the dry season, each journey becoming a race against exhaustion and heat. At the Waterhole, elephants reign supreme. Their dominance can be forceful, even aggressive, but it is also how they secure resources for the herd. Amid the scorched plains of Africa, where the ground cracks like the skin of some ancient reptile, water is more precious than gold. Out of the brush steps a fully grown African bush elephant bull, making his way to the Waterhole. But as it came closer, a black rhino with a proud pair of horns stood tall at the water's edge. It didn't drink, and it didn't leave. It just stood there, head lowered, muscles pulled tight like a drawn bow. The elephant stops. It exhales sharply, raises its head, and flings a cloud of dust with its trunk. A warning. But the rhino doesn't move. The elephant lowers its trunk, turns away, and disappears into the thicket. The rhino thinks it's over. Then, from the sparse woodland, a crack of breaking branches echoes like a war drum. More bull elephants appear, brimming with tension. They move forward like three silent walls, calm but charged with force. The rhino hesitates, one step back, then another. It turns and walks away, understanding the limits. The black rhinoceros is not a species particularly tied to any single waterhole. They only seek out water during quieter hours of the day. Each visit may last just a few minutes, long enough to drink their fill, before retreating back to the safety of the surrounding thickets. Under ideal conditions, they can drink up to 35 liters of water per day. But during dry spells, they may go several days without drinking, relying instead on moisture found in the leaves and tender twigs they eat. The soft mud around the edge of the waterhole often bears the imprint of their large, round footprints. There, they wallow, spinning slowly to let the mud coat every inch of their body. This cool, damp layer helps regulate their temperature, and once dried, forms a natural shield that protects against ultraviolet rays, insects, and parasites like ticks. They repeat this behavior at different waterholes, leaving behind patchy rings of dried mud, each one a quiet imprint of their survival. Though largely solitary, the black rhinoceros still leaves invisible messages around the waterhole. They mark the area with dung piles, known as middens, and by spraying streams of urine, signals that convey information about their gender, reproductive status, and territorial boundaries. Each sign is either a word of warning or a subtle invitation to a potential mate. With a strong sense of territory and a temperamental nature, confrontations are often hard to avoid. Encounters between two individuals can escalate into intense battles, with both using their sharp horns to strike. Many of these clashes end with serious injuries and sometimes even greater loss. But in the dry season, access to water can be more valuable than life itself. As the dry season comes to a close, the sky over the savanna begins to shift in color. Clusters of early season clouds gather, heavy yet filled with promise. The first rains fall in light, scattered drops, then gradually grow heavier and steadier, soaking the cracked earth with a fresh, life-giving layer of water. This is when the waterholes begin to transform. Once shrunken pools of mud, they slowly refill, then overflow, pushing their boundaries wider with each passing day. No longer confined by the limits of the dry season, the waterholes expand, some doubling or even quintupling in size, even merging with one another to form seamless wetlands that stretch across the lowland plains. The water is not only more abundant, but also cleaner. Heavy rains dilute the muddy bottoms, flushing out months of accumulated sediment while increasing the dissolved oxygen content, markedly improving water quality. Temperatures within the water stabilize, creating ideal conditions for continuous biological activity, especially for microorganisms and bottom-dwelling species. Around the waterholes, the landscape changes at a remarkable pace. In just 2 to 3 weeks of steady rain, fresh grasses blanket the ground, reaching average heights of 60 to 100 centimeters. These new shoots are soft, tender, and rich in nutrients, an ideal food source for large herbivores like zebras, wildebeests, and buffalo. Low shrubs and woody plants begin to bloom in sync, attracting millions of insects, especially dragonflies, mosquitoes, and beetles, forming a complete food chain from the ground up. It's not just the resident wildlife that responds. Migratory birds begin arriving from Europe, Central Asia, and the Middle East. The newly formed shallow waters quickly become feeding grounds and breeding sites for wading birds. These species take full advantage of the insect-rich, low-competition environment to raise their young and regain strength after journeys spanning thousands of kilometers. This is the time when a bird known by its nickname Jesus bird, the African jacana, begins its remarkable journey. They don't rush in flight. They arrive gently, almost silently, leaving behind slender, delicate footprints like brushstrokes across the floating lily pads. The African jacana's ability to walk on floating vegetation is one of nature's most astonishing feats. They have exceptionally long toes and slender claws that distribute their body weight over a much larger surface area than their small size would suggest. Thanks to this adaptation, they can move swiftly across fragile leaves, appearing to glide over the water's surface. The rainy season's waterhole environment is an ideal setting for this bird. The waters spread wide and remain shallow, filled with a dense tangle of floating plants that form a living maze. The African jacana weaves through gaps in the leaves, using its long beak to gently probe the undersides in search of insects, larvae, spiders, and even the tiniest of invertebrates in hiding. Each cluster of leaves is a world of its own, and the jacana is a patient, graceful predator. Unlike most bird species, the African jacana follows a completely reversed breeding system. The female is the larger, more vibrant individual, and she is the one who holds dominance over the territory. She maintains a broad area within which several males reside, much like a harem. After mating, the female lays her eggs in a nest built by a male, then quickly moves on to repeat the cycle with other partners. The heaviest responsibility falls on the males. The jacana's nest is little more than a flimsy cluster of floating plants, yet the male diligently incubates each egg, balancing day and night on the ever-shifting surface of the water. When the chicks hatch, they can already walk on their own, but the father's job is far from over. He protects and guides his young, even hiding them beneath his wings when threats approach, a unique skill known as wing brooding. Meanwhile, the female is already at another corner of the waterhole, preparing for the next round of nesting. The jacana's polyandrous strategy is also seen as an evolutionary way to optimize resources. Instead of investing fully in a single brood, the female spreads survival risk across multiple nests, and the male, despite taking on the role of caregiver, is the crucial figure in preserving the species' genetic legacy, ensuring the eggs hatch and the young have a strong chance of thriving. After the African jacana steps gracefully across the water's surface, the scene unfolds into streaks of fresh rainwater spreading across the savanna. In the stillness of the waterhole, a grey heron appears, motionless like a statue in the shallow water. Standing nearly 1 meter tall with a wingspan that can stretch up to 175 centimeters, the grey heron is an unmistakable silhouette. Yet when it remains completely still, blending into the ashen sky and low shrubs, it nearly vanishes from the view of its prey. Its silvery grey plumage, paired with a white head and a long black stripe extending from the eye to the nape, makes it a true master of disguise. In the damp, slow-moving rhythm of the rainy season, when everything softens and shifts more gently, the grey heron's patient and silent hunting style becomes all the more effective. It does not chase its prey. Instead, the heron uses an ambush strategy. It stands completely still, often on just one leg, for many minutes, sometimes even longer, keeping the water's surface undisturbed. Beneath the murky layer, fish, tadpoles, frogs, and insects go about unaware that the long shadow above is waiting for the slightest movement. When the moment comes, the grey heron strikes with astonishing speed. Its sharp, spear-like beak darts down in a split second, precise and decisive. The prey is caught in a firm grip or pierced through, then swallowed whole on the spot. Within the ever-moving ecosystem of the waterhole, the grey heron is not particularly picky about its meals. Fish remain the top choice, but if shrimp, crabs, small crustaceans, or even a field mouse or stray chick wanders too close to the water's edge, they won't be passed up. This flexible diet allows the grey heron to adapt well to temporary wetlands, where food sources change rapidly with water levels and shifting animal populations. The waterhole also serves as a social hub for the grey heron. As the breeding season approaches, they gather in large groups called heronries, often nesting in tall trees near the water or in low shrubs that stay above flood levels. A typical nest holds between 3 and 5 pale blue eggs. Once hatched, the chicks stay in the nest for 7 to 8 weeks until they're strong enough to spread their wings and fly. The rainy season provides the best chance of ensuring a steady supply of food for the growing young. The range of the grey heron stretches from Europe to Asia and as far south as regions of Africa. In Africa, they're seen year-round in major wetlands like the Okavango Delta in Botswana, Rietvlei Wetland Reserve and Table Bay Nature Reserve in South Africa. Some are permanent residents, while others migrate from temperate zones to the south as conditions grow harsher. These migratory individuals may travel as far as 2,000 kilometers in search of safe wintering grounds with stable water levels and abundant food. Though they share shades of grey in both feathers and name, the grey-crowned crane embodies an entirely different way of life. As the lowlands begin to hold water after the first rains of the season, these cranes descend with wings outstretched, bringing with them the regal presence of a species long regarded as a symbol of elegance in the wild. Unlike silent hunters such as the grey heron, this crane is rarely still. It moves constantly along the water's edge, each step graceful yet purposeful. With every firm stomp on the damp ground, the mud beneath quivers. Insects, frogs, and other small creatures hidden below the surface startle and rise. That's when the crane's quick beak strikes, swift and sure, leaving little chance for escape. This method of foraging by foot stomping is a signature behavior, showcasing the bird's intelligence in actively engaging with its surroundings instead of simply waiting. Their diet knows few boundaries. From grasshoppers and crickets to seeds, young grasses, lizards, worms, and occasionally even bird eggs, almost anything can become nourishment. In the heart of the flooded plains, with midday sun glinting off the water and fresh grass beginning to sprout along the shore, the grey-crowned crane is not just here to hunt, it's here to connect, to belong. Individuals are usually seen in pairs or small family groups. They gather around shallow pools, sipping clear water, preening under the sun, and at times releasing their iconic calls, resonant, trumpet-like sounds that echo across the savannah. In the stillness of the landscape, those calls stretch far and wide, creating a kind of primal music only truly understood by those who have heard it in person. No breeding season is needed for the grey-crowned crane to perform its courtship dance. This ritual is an essential part of their social behavior. When two cranes face each other, their legs begin to bounce gently, then suddenly they leap into the air, wings spread wide like classical ballet dancers. They spin, bow, sway, flap, and call out, sometimes even tossing twigs or blades of grass as props in this expressive, emotional display. Researchers believe these dances are more than mating rituals. They reinforce the bond between lifelong partners, especially in this species known for monogamous pairings that can last a lifetime. Though not long-distance migrants, grey-crowned cranes still move with the seasons, following water sources and the promise of fresh vegetation and abundant food. They are widely distributed across eastern and southern Africa, from Uganda, Rwanda, Kenya, and Tanzania to South Africa. Typically inhabiting wetlands, seasonally flooded savannas, lowland basins, and cultivated fields near rivers and lakes. This bird is the national symbol of Uganda, appearing at the center of its flag in a proud stance, representing grace, composure, and national pride. The grey-crowned crane also holds powerful cultural significance in the Great Lakes region, often featured in festivals, folk dances, and traditional ornamentation. In the wild, grey-crowned cranes live an average of 20 to 25 years, and in care, they can reach up to 35 or even 40 years. Yet their status as cultural icons comes not from their longevity, but from their refined demeanor, intricate social habits, and the unique ability to express emotion through movement. In the soft light of late afternoon, when a pair of cranes face each other, dancing against the wind and spreading their wings over shimmering water, it's easy to forget that this world is still full of uncertainty. Moving away from the graceful dances of the grey-crowned crane, the Waterhole welcomes another striking presence, the saddle-billed stork, quietly stepping into the shallows, its vivid red bill edged with yellow gleaming in the light. Unlike ambush predators like the heron, the saddle-billed stork hunts with a more deliberate and active approach. It often forages alone or in pairs, slowly wading through shallow stretches with a calm, focused demeanor. Its unhurried stride and scanning gaze glide across the water's surface, but it's the large bill, nearly 30 centimeters long, that is the true hunting tool. Rather than striking randomly, the bird continuously dips its bill into the water, as if scanning for the slightest ripple beneath the mud. This feeding style resembles the use of an underwater metal detector, sensation, reaction, and calculation, all working in harmony. The moment the bill tip senses even the faintest twitch, be it a soft flick from a catfish or a crab's sideways shuffle, the snap is immediate. Powerful, precise, and final. Most of its prey are medium to large-sized fish, with species like catfish and tilapia dominating the menu. When it catches a fish nearly half its body length, the stork will often bring it to shore, rotating the fish with its bill to swallow it head first, avoiding injury from sharp fins. This skill in handling larger prey makes the saddle-billed stork one of the most efficient fish hunters in freshwater ecosystems across sub-Saharan Africa. Standing up to 1.5 meters tall with a wingspan reaching nearly 2.4 meters, the saddle-billed stork is among the largest birds in Africa. Males are typically heavier, averaging 6.4 kilograms compared to the female's 5.9 kilograms. One easy way to tell the sexes apart in the wild is by eye color. Males have brown eyes, while females display a striking yellow. Their preferred habitats are broad, shallow wetlands, marshes, flooded grassland lakes, and seasonal river channels, places where water rises slowly and life flourishes after months of drought. In areas where feeding territories are stable, the saddle-billed stork shows strong territorial behavior. Once a pair establishes control over a waterhole, intruding storks are often driven off with displays involving wing spreading or bill gestures to protect the food supply. This helps keep population density balanced, but it also means that losing a territory can severely limit survival chances in the following dry season. As for breeding, saddle-billed storks are monogamous. Pairs form long-lasting bonds, often for life. They build large nests in the canopies of tall trees, reusing and reinforcing them year after year. After hatching, the chicks remain in the nest for about 10 to 14 weeks as they develop their flight feathers, yet they continue to depend on their parents throughout the rainy season. This extended development time, along with a slow breeding cycle, keeps population density naturally low, making the species more vulnerable to environmental changes. Despite their impressive size and remarkable adaptations, saddle-billed storks are not immune to the pressures of human activity. The loss of wetland habitats, groundwater extraction, riverside deforestation, and agricultural runoff have shrunk their range, especially in drier regions like Namibia, Zimbabwe, and northern South Africa. Scientists have raised concerns that without coordinated conservation efforts at both regional and cross-border levels, the population may continue to decline rapidly within the next 10 years. As seasonal rains fill the natural depressions across the land, a waterhole becomes more than just a new patch of water on the savanna. it transforms into the engine that restarts the entire ecosystem. From nutrient-rich silt drawing aquatic life back, to green grasslands pulling in migrating herds, and even the arrival of predators trailing their prey, every link in the chain circles back to this vital source. During the rainy season, each waterhole becomes a biological crossroads, where life radiates outward. In the dry season, its role becomes even more critical. Every day, the largest residents of the savanna require hundreds of liters of water just to regulate their body temperature and stay alive. Herds travel dozens of kilometers in search of a safe water source. Even species that can go longer without drinking rarely stray more than 2 days from water. In the dry season, when average rainfall drops below 50 millimeters per month, waterholes become essential gathering points, places every creature must return to, whether they want to or not. However, human intervention in water availability hasn't always delivered the expected results. Since the mid-1990s, some conservation areas began shutting down artificial waterholes. By the early 2000s, over 65% of man-made waterholes had been decommissioned. Studies showed that an overly even distribution of water sources disrupted natural movement patterns, placing pressure on vegetation in regions that once served as recovery zones for the ecosystem. Limiting artificial water supply is not about cutting off life, it's a strategy to restore balance. When animals have to travel farther to find water, the interval between breeding cycles in certain large species increased from roughly 3 years to between 4.2 and 4.5 years, easing strain on both population numbers and habitat. This is a new approach. Instead of controlling nature, humans are learning to move in step with it. Yet the role of a waterhole goes beyond simply sustaining wildlife. Research shows that land surrounding a waterhole contains nitrogen and phosphorus levels 3 to 5 times higher than in dry soil. Thousands of animals drink, defecate, and urinate here, turning the area into a fertile strip of land. Grasses like red oat grass, buffalo grass, and many native species thrive, creating a sustainable food source for herbivores. This cycle continues, tightly woven, quietly precise, all without needing a human hand. A waterhole is a lifeline, a gathering place, a battleground, a stage, all existing within one small space, yet binding together hundreds of species. To humans, it might seem like nothing more than a muddy puddle, but to the wild, it is where life begins, renews, and reconnects. And just like water in Christian faith, where people are cleansed, healed, and reborn, the waterhole in the heart of the savanna is where all creatures come to rediscover life, day after parched day. And as the rains begin to fade across the savanna, where cracked earth and withered shrubs struggle beneath the heat, waterholes are no longer nature's gift. They become the battleground against disappearance. In these conditions, conservation efforts are launched with urgency and innovation. In Kenya's Tsavo Conservation Area, 2 new boreholes have been drilled deep into the earth through a partnership between African Wildlife Foundation and Elephant Cooperation, providing a steady water supply for people, livestock, and the countless wildlife herds around the Kasigao and Mieno conservancies. In Zimbabwe's Hwange National Park, over 25 hybrid pumping stations powered by solar energy and diesel run continuously, keeping the waterholes full, even through the night when temperatures drop and elephants arrive silently to drink. In South Africa, artificial waterholes are strategically placed based on species-specific preferences. A 2024 study at Oliphant's West Nature Reserve revealed that elephants and black rhinos tend to favor different watering points, prompting managers to redesign access in ways that minimize interspecies tension. Every drop of water now is no longer something that falls freely. It is preserved through the combined efforts of science, local communities, and the quiet guardians of life. Each drop saved in Africa sustains the heartbeat of hundreds of wild species. But that life cannot endure without the protective hands of people. Conservation is not just the work of organizations. It begins with the awareness and small actions of each individual, reducing waste, supporting conservation projects, sharing knowledge, and spreading a love for nature. Because when the natural world suffers anywhere, we, no matter where we are, lose a piece of ourselves. And if you've ever experienced an African safari, watching rhinos and elephants gather at a waterhole to quench their thirst, don't hesitate to share your knowledge and experiences in the comments below. Your stories could become the spark that fuels future conservation efforts, helping protect wildlife and ecosystems for generations to come. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell to join us on the next extraordinary adventure. Or you can continue exploring the survival journeys of wildlife in other regions through Nyerere Unveiled, into the domain of apex predators, or from Serengeti to Masai Mara, survival on the move.